DORK podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK podcast. Keefe Davey. It's the DORK podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Rhaenyra Von Daenerys. He is Raymond Von Damon. He is Riftmark Von Driftmark. He is Dracarys Von Dracarys. All hail the King of Ginger Ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
As soon as we started doing this, I got a little froggy in my throat.
That's because you just whooped down a bag of Doritos.
All right.
Probably some of that dust in there.
I ate 3 Doritos in your presence. I didn't wolf down a bag of Doritos.
Wolfed down a bag.
I did not.
Yeah, you're lying.
You're lying. Look, Ray, yeah? Look.
You're lying.
Still some in the bag. I didn't wolf down the whole bag.
That's good. Glad you're bringing treats right before the podcast. How many Doritos do you think I can fit in my mouth right now?
Right now? I don't know, but let's find out.
That actually, we're going to just morph the podcast into food challenges. And we just sit
chubby bunny on the air.
Just
see if we can chubby bunny
out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, we might get some clicks that way.
Was it you who claimed but I forget if it was catsup or barbecue sauce. You said you would put anything on?
Catsup.
Yep.
We said that I think we may have told that story and then in the dining
hall. But I always forget if it's barbecue sauce or ketchup. Yeah.
No, it was ketchup. And then I ended up putting it on Jell-O and I was like, does not go with Jell-O.
Somehow I remember a banana too.
Yeah, I think I might have put it on a banana. And then one kid, and we filmed it as part of our little jackass stunt. He drank a whole pint glass of
salt. No, it was salsa.
Oh, it was salsa?
Yeah, because I remember Bessie said it's salsa on the video. A whole cup of salsa.
All right. Well, we're not here to tell stories of days gone by. We are here to talk about the news.
This week in DORK.
Jordan in the chat. Has this ever happened to you? Do you ever get ready to start your podcast and your co-host says you ate a bag of Doritos, but you only had a couple?
What?
Has this ever happened to you? All right, we have big DC news afoot. DC news.
This just breaking.
This is breaking news. Oh, yeah. You know what? It probably is warranting of.
Now, a hashtag DORK news flash.
James Gunn is going to be one of the two guys kind of overseeing all of DC. So everything now is going to run through James Gunn, who, of course, with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, I'm all in. Obviously, Guardians. I'm saying just the DC properties. He's been fantastic. So I am. This is great news.
And this is a long time coming. And the perfect person to do it, who doesn't take the properties too seriously, but you look at Star Wars has Dave Filoni, Marvel has Kevin Feige, like these guys who are in. Even Jon Favreau to a point. You know, you have you have these people who are totally invested in the properties, who know the characters, who know how to tell a story clearly in James Gunn. What I'm surprised it took this long is the only thing that's shocking to me.
Well, I think it was because they had Snyder, right? And then weren't they also using what's his name, one of the comic book guys, and they were kind of going back and forth.
Jeff Loeb?
Jeff Loeb did some of the stuff, with TV, and then there's some other guy. Who the fuck am I thinking of? It was one of the main guys, but regardless, and it was where was this really going? Where was it? Where was this headed?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's this is a standalone movie. This is part of the universe. This is kind of confusing. But James Gunn, I think, is going to bring what it needs. The other guy, Peter Safran or whatever, I think his name is. He's worked with James Gunn before on a bunch of stuff. He's also produced all the Conjuring verse too, which is
So I think the way I read it is that Gunn is involved with all the creatives, all of the timelines, all of the things that the creative aspect of it. So how the films are going to be laid out, how the story is going to be told, and Safran is the business side of it, producing the movies, making sure they get made, and all that's his side of it. So just give people who are fucking good at telling stories all the creative control. Let them deal with it. And I keep going back to that scene in Barry when what's her name gets her show canceled. The algorithm, it's not gonna. And I feel like there's too much of that. Fuck that. Just tell people can tell good stories. Just do that.
I agree. And then the Jeff Johns was the guy I was thinking of.
Jeff Johns, yeah.
He had a lot of hand in some of this stuff as well. But speaking of DC, Black Adam was in theaters this past weekend. Now, normally we would do this episode, but with our current topic du jour, and honestly, I haven't had time to go out and see a movie. Have you seen Black Adam yet?
No.
I know. I feel like we got to see this at some point. We got to do an episode at some point. It may not be well. Clearly, it's not going to be as timely as they normally are, but we will get around to Black Adam. We've done every other DCEU movie since this podcast has been a thing. 39% currently by the critics on Roddy T's, with a 90% audience score.
So do you like me? Do you split the difference? Do you like, all right, so it's probably like an 80.
Yeah, on this one, it's definitely one where I think critics just, for the most part, aren't going to like most superhero movies. And then I think the audience probably is just kind of supporting The Rock, or there's the DC super fans that kind of come out and like, no matter what, they haven't even seen it and they're giving it 100%. So it's honestly somewhere in between. I'm sure, and this is probably the worst thing you can say about it, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's a fine movie.
I'm sure that Rock is just pissing charisma, and he's, everyone's hero and everyone likes him. I'm sure that's the way it's going to go. But
I'm sure the action's good, but I also bet it's very predictable. That's my guess. I bet as the thing goes on, you're like, I know where this is going, and as long as it looks cool and it is The Rock, I can't imagine it's that bad. But I also don't think it's going to like change how you think about cinema. So
no.
There's that. You know what might make you change how you think about cinema? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Trailer came out. We tweeted that out at Dork Podcast on Twitter, February 17th. So just a few months away. And you get a little look at Kang at the end. You also get a look at sort of Scott Lang's supporting cast in this one. And his daughter is going to be a big part of this. Obviously, the Wasp is going to be a big part of it. Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne. This looks pretty good. This looks like a pretty fun
Bill
movie.
Murray for some reason.
Bill Murray, because why not?
But not the best cameo in the trailer.
No.
That belongs to our Italian friend.
Yeah.
Hit it.
Go steering wheel that doesn't fly off while you're driving.
Yes.
Amazing.
Spider-Man.
Were you ready to see that guy? Because
I was not ready to see that guy. I was like, I don't even know the guy's name, but I'm excited.
I was flabbergasted to see him. I did not expect him to be in there, but there he is. What's a better role? This guy?
Go steering wheel that doesn't fly off while you're driving.
Him being in the MCU, or our guy.
What are we, 10 years old? I've seen every cock on the planet.
Playing himself in season 2 of Dave.
I mean, it's a toss-up. It's a dealer's choice at that point, right?
They're both equally outrageous and exciting.
Yeah,
it is. It's a true pick 'em. No, but Ant-Man, this looks great. And as much as I feel like the MCU post Endgame has been pretty hit or miss, whether it's movie or TV, Wakanda Forever next month, and then Ant-Man in February both look awesome.
I'm excited. You're excited. Feel these nipples.
You should see my penis. Titans season 4. I know you're not in on Titans, but Titans is a good time. I like Titans. This is going to be back November 3rd for part 1 of season 4.
Everything I'm reading too is this show is getting better and better as it goes. Much like Doom Patrol just got canceled, right?
You know what? I thought I heard Titans got canceled too, but I wonder if that's just after this season. Maybe they know this is the last one, or maybe something happened there with HBO Max. Yeah, Doom Patrol is okay. At season 1 of Titans, they sort of set up Doom Patrol and they kind of like meet all those characters or whatever. This is also a big day or week for some of the releases. So Tales of the Jedi is going to be on Disney Plus tomorrow, or the 26th, depending on when you're listening to this. That's the animated one that we talked about before. For that, those are shorts. Barbarian, what many are saying is the best horror movie of 2022, is on HBO Max today
as we speak. And
we've already gotten multiple requests for a Barbarian dink. People want us to talk Barbarian. Apparently it's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of crazy, I recently watched
the Spanish viewers.
What'd you say? Loco?
Or Loco for the Spanish viewers.
I watched The Black Phone finally, or Black Phone. Solid.
I like it a lot.
It's good.
Yeah.
And you watched Terrifier.
Oh boy, did I! Holy smokes! Terrifier. Now, you said there would be one kill that I would know exactly which one you were talking about, and you were correct.
Exactly which one I was talking about.
You can't unsee that, and I've never seen that in a film before.
And that was a good one.
Man, you pegged that movie, and Rossi also, to his credit, he really liked it. The second Terrifier is getting really good reviews. Apparently, really actually a good movie. This one's good for horror fans. I put it on par with like Hostel and some of the Saw movies. Saw 1 is kind of ahead, way better. But like some of the other Saw movies, because it's like that torture porn shit. So like you gotta know what you're getting into.
But it's a little bit more like, and again, for a character who literally doesn't make a sound the entire thing, like
what a great idea.
Like, and like it's just I'm not trying to be funny or make a pun, but it is like terrifying to like, because he gets hurt, but like doesn't make a sound.
It's crazy. Like it, and that in and of itself is like the most unique idea is you have a mime clown killing everybody. The acting is, as you said, horrible. Like,
it's horrible,
comically bad.
Yeah,
like you could grab 2 people off the street and just have them read dialogue and it'd be the same thing.
I think they did.
Maybe they did. But that was creepy. And I thought about that fucking guy. Actually, I think about it maybe twice a day since I've seen it. The look of the guy,
Art the Clown,
who apparently was also in a movie that same director did, like either it was shorts or something. Like he debuted in something like a few years earlier.
Yeah, it was called something weird too. I forget what it was called, but Art the Clown has been around. Like Terrifier was the first one to feature him, but like
so Terrifier was good. That's on Tubi, so you can check out Terrifier.
All Hallows Eve.
Yes.
Yeah.
All Hallows Eve. So so Barbarian, I gotta see. We'll try to find time. I don't know if we can, but if we can, we'll definitely try to talk about it. Speaking of the Saw movies, Tobin Bell is set to return as Jigsaw in Saw 10 next Dorktober, which I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe it's gonna be like prequels or setups, because spoiler on that, but he's dead as a doornail.
He's been dead for years, right? Like that body doesn't even exist anymore.
And for like multiple movies. Yep. He's dead as a doornail.
So I don't know how they're gonna pull that off, but
yeah, it's gonna be probably pretty tricky.
Yeah,
tricky.
Is it gonna be like flashbacks?
I think so, and they've done that before, so maybe it will be mostly flashbacks, or then again, it could be a requel. And like, who knows? Who knows what you end up doing? Or you just need his voice. His voice is really goddamn good. All right, we haven't done one of these in a while, so let's do one of these quick. All right, should I have bought this? Brought to you by 47 Brand. You go to 47brand.com, enter the promo code #DORK at checkout for 25% off your entire order.
That doesn't sound right.
No, I had to check it twice, but that is
That's
right.
Way too high.
Let's say you spent $711.45 on hats, shirts, stuff that you're gonna make for yourself, maybe for other people, and you entered #DORK at checkout. Do you know how much you'd save?
Not a fucking clue.
25%. And at that point, too, Ryan, what you'd have is free shipping. So I think anything over 100, you get the free ship on. All right,
that's right.
This?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're ready. All right. Ooh, what do you think?
Ooh, so what we have here is what I'm looking at the grade right now, but it is what volume is this?
Oh yeah, let me find a way to enlarge.
It says 8. Is this volume 8?
This is chapter 8.
Chapter 8. So I'm looking at right now is a near mint. It's a 9.8. Chapter 8 Saga.
Issue of Saga, yeah. Yep.
So let's see, it's over $25, which is the rule we set.
Let me tell you real quick. This comes in from John. He says, "Hi, Rich and Davey. Thank you guys for bringing up Saga on the podcast." Which I would say is, if not the best comic book ever written, it's up there. It's still ongoing, so it's hard to know. It's hard to really compare it to books that have had their finish. But I recently read through all the volumes. It's such a badass series. The experience has rekindled my love for comics, and I've read a bunch of Batman, Fables, Ex Machina, Paper Girls. He says, at age 41, there's less and less personal time in life as work, family, and bills demand your full attention. Rediscovering comics has been super fun, which I would also recommend to him the TLDR podcast with Fryer and Dr. Joe. They talk comics every single week. Overall, Saga has been my absolute favorite. And this comic that I have purchased, issue 8, is, in my opinion, the best cover. It's Elena in her military gear, Sitting on the enormous engine of her battle aircraft, reading the book that is changing her perspective on life, opening her mind, and giving her an escape. What a compelling image. First print issue, grade 9.8 by CGC, cost me blank. It's likely to retain its value or go up, but that's not that important to me. However, the answer is yours. Should I have bought this? And he says, thanks again for bringing the heat with the pod. So, Rye.
Yeah, still got zip on that fastball. I'm painting too.
This
with
one,
movement.
First of all, I love this shit. Getting your comics graded and getting them in this fucking cool like glass case with like the label on it. That whole process in of itself is not cheap. I love it. Like I would want to do that with a bunch of my.
I love it.
I'm too cheap. I'm too cheap for it. What is your guess on how much this cost him? Because again, it includes the grade. That's so it's more than just the book. Obviously, it's the whole 9.
So I'm gonna say. So am I coming in loud and clear? By the way, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I'm like my levels are all off, but so I'm gonna say like this. So for the comic itself, this is what I love about Saga because, like you said, it's not done yet. So I feel like these things will appreciate once the run is done.
Yeah,
so I feel like this is a little bit of an investment. That said, you probably get the comic itself for a song, right? You could probably get that,
right?
Like buy it new, it comes, you put it right behind glass. So I'm gonna say all in. I'm gonna go even $100 for this.
75.
I love it. I love it at 75.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
I'm with you. I love it for 75, and I also that's something that I would want to get some of my comics done like that. That kind of inspired me to take a look at that.
I have one that's hanging on my wall. It's behind like a glass frame, but it is the Amazing Spider-Man 36, the September 11th issue by the John Romita Jr. and Sr.
Yeah.
With the black cover. It's all black. So that's something that I need to get graded.
Yeah,
and like
that's a really good one.
Yeah.
This is something that you teased a little bit. I'm excited every week for this part of the program, but this week I'm even more all ears.
It's time for Davey's video game minute, even if it takes more than a minute.
All right, you played a game that has some interest, I would say, to the people.
So this has been I felt like I put a poll up on Twitter as to whether or not I should even buy this game for $70, right? And I did. So I played Gotham Knights. I've played it for like 3-4 hours right now.
Gotham Knights.
Did I say? I didn't say that.
You did.
Name of
I just want to clarify once again.
It's Gotham Knights. So it was Gotham Knights. And is the gameplay so there's issues with like it's locked at 30 frames, which means it doesn't have, it's not as smooth as it could be, but the ray tracing, the graphics look amazing. There's ray tracing, there's reflections, there's real-time lighting. It's fine. Are the controls a little wonky? Yeah. Like, remember in like the early Arkham games where you would like be chaining attacks and you would go to hit somebody and then you'd have to hit someone across the screen and Batman would like leap like all the way across the screen. It still does a little bit of that. They could have tightened that up a little bit. Combat could be a little bit better. There is a really cool like customization piece to it, like almost like a role-playing piece to it. It is a little wonky at times. Like it does get a little repetitive in what I've played so far. The story, if you've read any Batman, you know where the story's going, right out of the chute. Here's what pissed me off. Here's the biggest gripe I have with this game. Were you under the impression that this was an Arkham game?
It is not Arkham.
It's not.
Yeah.
Which I feel like you were misled the entire thing. Because remember at the end of Gotham Knight, Batman dies. Spoiler.
Yeah, so there's supposed to be no Batman and no Joker in this one, right?
Right. So the whole thing is like they teased it. There's no more Batman, so that you would think that there was like the continuation of the Arkham series. It's not. It's a completely different story. Which
Yikes.
To me, like that's kind of fucked up. That like that Warner Brothers did that. Like I feel like they tricked people into buying this game.
Well, and what's the deal with like the multiplayer? I've read like 3 different things on the multiplayer.
So the multiplayer is like you can like drop in and drop out, obviously. But the way I haven't gotten that far into it, but like you, I've read that there are missions that are clearly designed for co-op.
Okay.
And like random people can come in your game.
Oh, I don't like care for that.
You can lock it, but like if you didn't know, like random a fucking random Nightwing could show up.
Here's this guy. Yeah.
But I am interested because the 4 characters are so different.
Yeah.
And they play so I actually started as Robin, as Tim Drake, because in case you got it, and we need like some games, like you need to be kind of like Borderlands, you need to be within a certain level of each other to play the same mission. So I didn't want to like play as Nightwing or Batgirl, who I'm told Batgirl is the best character.
Oh, nice. All right.
So I didn't want to start and then have you get it and then be like, oh fuck, now I gotta wait.
Yeah.
You know, so I played as Robin, the person I probably wanted to play the least, and it plays fine. Like, he's a good little character.
This is only a PS5 game, right?
Correct.
Is it worth like doing whatever I can to get a PS5 for now? I still don't have one. See, that's the problem.
That game is coming in 3 weeks. So that game is God of War Ragnarok. If you're gonna like, or
Suicide Squad when that comes out.
Suicide Squad, or something like that. I mean,
so
not Call of
I know
Duty.
I know you haven't played it a ton, but have you played it enough to give it a dork score?
Right now, as I play it, I'm a little pissed off at the story because it's not an Arkham game, and I feel like they marketed it like it was. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little pissed about that, but I'm going to give it I'll give it a 4 right now.
4 out of 6. So yeah, that's so maybe better than what it kind of looked like, because I thought it was like, I know it's Red Hood, and that's like the big draw for me is to play as Red Hood in a game, but then I don't like him bopping around on these.
But you don't have to do that. Is the thing. Like you do, like, and that's the thing that I was kind of glad about. Like, if you just want to use like the grappling gun,
yeah, you can do that.
That's it. You can just do that. Like, you don't have to do the weird bopping around. Like, Robin has this weird teleportation, stupid shit he does.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's a little too goofy, but I'm pissed that it's not an Arkham game.
So,
and the voice actors are all different.
I was playing Overwatch 2. I got my first couple of hours in on Overwatch 2, and so I did what I would advise against. I did not take my own advice. I was like, I missed the night where all you guys were playing, and then I was able to play the next night. Nobody was playing, and I'm like, well, I still want
solo queued competitive. Yep.
Solo queued competitive. Because I'm like, I want to see what my score is going to be. And it was so bad, so bad. I was on like 3 straight teams that were just dumps. And like, I wasn't playing well either, but I wasn't the problem. Like, I was in one game where it was just one guy complaining about another guy the whole game. He's like, hey, Diva, you got to switch. Diva, you got to switch. It's all, the Diva never switched. That guy wasn't very good either. And like, we lost. So this is classic Overwatch. So lost 3 straight games and was terrible. 4th game, I come out as Junkrat, start the game with a triple kill, and then we take over the point. We get it up to like 5%. Somebody on the other team quits. They boot us out of the game. I'm like,
I had an experience where, again, the toxicity level of Overwatch is something you got to like be careful of, because so I was playing as Moira, and as a healer, like, your job is to follow the tanks. Right. And if especially with a point where you have to like capture a point, like you follow them, feed them, right, and make sure that you hold the point together. We blew a team out 100-0 in like holding points. And this whole time, this kid is like screaming at me to like, if I'm Moira, like, I need to do like heal people. I'm like, I'm pocketing the Sigma right here. Like, I'm standing next to him holding the point.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you only have fucking 1,000 healing and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, we blew the team out. I didn't have to heal anybody. We blew them out. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm doing my job. And he's like, you know what the fuck you're doing? I'm like, we just won. Like, I don't understand.
We won the match. All right.
Yeah, idiots.
Get off our balls.
Enough of that.
Balls. Are you got anything else video game wise? What else are you playing? Anything?
So I'm playing that, and I'm playing no, just Gotham Knights right now. I'm waiting for God of War. I gotta wait for God of War to come out.
All right. Well, that's very good. And again, if you have any video game questions, hit up Davey at RVonD on the old Twitter. Question for you.
Y'all ready for Bisque?
Topic is your time, Ryan.
I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day, and today it is House of the Dragon episodes 9 and 10, and also sort of a season 1 recap. So obviously we gotta ride with them Thrones boys once again. We bring in our very own Chris Scheim. Scheim, how are you?
Ooh, boy.
What's up, boys? How we doing?
We're doing pretty great, actually. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
God.
I'm glad to hear that.
If I were any better, I'd have to be twins, Scheim.
You
know?
Like Eric and Eric. Twins.
Pete and Pete, really.
No, in the House of the Dragon, Eric and Arak or whatever the fuck. Those two guys? It's
Eric
like
and Eric.
YK and ARRYK.
Eric and Eric. Yeah.
Awful.
Makes sense.
Awful. All right, so we've done, and if you're just joining us for the first time, you can go back in the old archives, and we've sort of done either season or episode recaps, or maybe we've grouped together a couple of episodes. But overall, Scheim, good close to the season with these final 2 episodes in your mind?
Yeah, I thought so. Like, I thought overall this season was really, really good. The closing was well done. It clearly sets up for a second season. I wish we were getting just more episodes in this season. I want the story to just continue right now. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little bit for that.
Yeah, we have to wait a while. But Davey, what do you think of the last 2 episodes?
You know, I was initially, I think out of the 3 of us, I was probably the most apprehensive out of anybody about this show. And I was like, I remember saying to you guys, like, I'm going to give it 2 episodes and then we'll see. We'll see. It sucked me in. And the last 2 episodes, in true other than the last season, in true early Game of Thrones fashions, the last 2 episodes were the best of the season.
Yeah,
in my mind.
I think so too. And there were some good ones along the way. We highlight, like, the wedding episode is, again, classic Game of Thrones, but the wedding episode was great. But usually the penultimate episode of every season is the real mind-blowing episode. And there was definitely some good stuff in this. And then they followed it up with a really good finale, I think, and cliffhanger. And to Scheim's point, it's gonna suck. I think it's gonna be a while until we get season 2, but everybody's fired up for it because, again, when this series first got announced, I think we all kind of rolled our eyes. As big of fans of Game of Thrones as we were, but we're like, we're going prequels on this. Like, how good could this possibly be? But next thing you know, I'm the guy, like, you're just following, you're like looking at maps online of like what the fucking Westeros looks like. You're looking at all the house and banners. You just get sucked in so quickly. And good dragons. Like, this isn't one of those shows where you're like, kind of a misleading title. Like, we got a good amount of dragons in this season.
Yeah, especially the last 2 episodes.
Ton of dragons. I have no complaints on the dragon count.
Yeah, and I mean, this is clearly people are watching too. This is the most watched thing on HBO since the series finale of Game of Thrones. Like, crazy. That's how big this is. Yeah, it's insane. I would probably put this, like, definitely above season 1 of Game of Thrones, and probably right around maybe just above season 2, but it's not quite as good as like those seasons 3, 4, 5.
Seasons 3 and 4 were so fucking
tough.
Yeah.
Tough to battle that. Well, on that note, because we're going to do mostly spoilers for each of the 2 episodes and then sort of like a look ahead, what's your dork score? Like, slap it on there. Season 1, House of the Dragon. Davey, what are you going through 1 through 6?
5.5.
Scheim?
I go hard 5.
Yeah, I was debating between those 2 scores, but then I was leaning 5.5, and I was looking at this year in TV has been insane. There's been so many shows. So even at 5.5, there's like a handful of shows better than it. Like, there was a handful of 6 shows this year.
Like, it's not as good as to me, it's not as good as Saul.
No, Saul was better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even Stranger Things this season of Stranger Things might have been better. Barry, you had The Boys, you had The Bear, you had, like, it was Succession.
I'm the only one who fucking watches Shoresy. That's it. But that's
sure.
I love that show.
Actually, no, we have a should I have bought this related Shoresy thing. We'll do that one next week.
Oh, I haven't watched Shoresy yet. So I love Letterkenny. Haven't watched Shoresy yet. So it's something on the list that needs to be.
If you like Letterkenny, you'll like Shoresy.
Perfect.
All right, so we're going 5.5 for Davey, 5.5 for me, and we're going hard 5, rock hard, throbbing 5. We'll make sure we put that.
Going for gasps with that 5.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right, let's get into all this.
Spoilers! Here come the spoilers!
All right, so one of the overarching things before we get into the episode specifically as to what happened, but some of the criticisms I have heard or read, like, online about the show, is they're so quick to get to the next thing. And so, like, Game of Thrones, the ending, we kind of complained about how quickly all of a sudden the characters could move on the board knowing how big the world was, whereas this is, or you had 5 episodes, then you had a huge time jump, and then you had another couple episodes, then you had another time jump, and it was almost like the whole point was we introduced these, like, 14-year-old girl characters at the beginning, and then it was, well, we got to get to their kids pretty soon. So, like, they, like, fast forward it. And one issue, again, some critics had was sort of the lack of character development, and it was more like, all right, we did this, now we can check that off and let's get to the next big thing. Did either of you guys feel that to be an issue? Because I personally didn't. I liked these big marquee events, and I was okay with kind of connecting the dots or like filling in the rest of it on my own. But I know that was some people were like, it's hard to have these big moments if you're not as attached to characters as maybe you could be.
See, one of the things that kind of was a deterrent for me in the original Game of Thrones show was I felt like that was too drawn out. We're like, all right, we fucking get it. Like, this guy's a scumbag and these two twins like banging each other. Like, we get it. Like, you don't have to spend entire episodes on this, right?
Mhm.
And so what I think is that you learn from that mistake, and they're like, all right, we know who by episode 2, like, you know who Daemon is. Like, you absolutely know who he is. I don't need any more of that. You did it quickly enough. Whereas, like, and again, you're introducing 20 plus characters.
A lot of them. Yeah.
So you need to do that quickly.
And the crazy thing too is you have to realize that it's on a much smaller scale than Game of Thrones, right? Like, we're introducing 20 new characters, but in Game of Thrones, there was like 50 or 60 characters that you needed to know. Like, there is far less characters, and especially major players when you're looking at it. Like, we have seen Jaime Lannister's story arc lasted from season 1 to the finale, right? But when it comes to somebody like Daemon, you're seeing his character arc happen in a season or 2, and that's okay, because you have to, these are not as on as big of a scale. They're more, you have to consider them more like miniseries. Like, this is not a program that's going to last for 5 or 6 seasons, because there's just not there's not enough source material on it to last that long. This is very unlike the original Game of Thrones story, so they have to be separated.
So, which I liked, because again, there is a lot of overlap and like sort of some of the same tropes as Game of Thrones.
Yep.
And so to sort of, all right, how are you not going to be the exact same? And it's like, we'll tell the story differently, like do it this way. So I actually had no problem with it.
But I love how it's still very Game of Thrones, like you said, where you have an Eric and an Eric and 2 kids in 2 different families named Aegon.
Yeah. And speaking of,
like, the fuck.
So Aegon now is in line to be king. So the last time we talked was after episode 8, and Viserys finally, this guy fought the long fight. He hung on longer than anybody really expected based on how he looked. But now they're saying, and again, even though he named Rhaenyra, there's obviously a fight, a Game of Thrones is really what you have now. A fight to the throne. Very apropos. But Aegon is now going to be king. So Viserys and Alicent's son Aegon is set in line to be king. And we learn what an absolute scumbag this dude is. And episode 9, called The Green Council, is all about, or at the beginning anyway, it's all about like the search for Aegon. Like, where the fuck is this guy? And you find out just how creepy he is. And I'll tell you, Davey, when they get to the point where he takes part in kid fights, is wild.
He bets on kid fights.
Bets on kid fights. And
sires some kid fighters.
Right. Some of those are his kids. And they talk about like, oh yeah, they grow their nails out and they sharpen their teeth, so they're like a little bit friskier. I'm like, that is like the top 10 most fucked up thing in Game of Thrones, probably.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
Yep, just like kid fights.
Yeah, this guy is the worst of the worst. And it's like, it's so funny because it's the dichotomy of Rhaenyra's kids, who are these like nice, polite young men, and then you look at Alicent's kids and they are just a bunch of fucking weirdos.
Yeah. Now, Aegon, would you guys say, again, because there's so many characters that are easily like Otto Hightower is very similar, like Littlefinger, and there's like a lot of like lining them up. Like Aegon's very Joffrey, like, right?
He's reading very Joffrey to me right now.
Yeah, he's very Joffrey.
Yeah.
Wow, what'd you guys think of the White Worm character? I thought there was some interesting stuff. White Worm was a let's say like a woman of the streets who seems to know everything that's going on in there.
Friend of the road.
Kind of a cool character to
world's oldest profession.
Well, because she was the mistress of Daemon, like back in those first couple episodes, and like that was how she has kind of come full circle now. And you can kind of also infer that maybe she was spying on Daemon at the time and not necessarily wanting to be with him.
No, true. We also, after a bit of a delay, we get Larys Strong. We hadn't seen Larys Strong in a while.
This guy.
And he apparently is still feeding Alicent some information. And we're like, what is he going to get out of this? Well, you find out exactly what he gets out of this.
Because he mentions in the episode prior that like there's going to come a time where I ask you for something, you're going to have to give me what I want. Yep. Little did we know.
It's him pulling his pud to her feet.
A little tootsie action.
Wow.
Pull the old tootsies out and let me pull.
You just need to look at him. Like, and that's what I think. That's what bugged me the most, right? Like, I'm not here to criticize anyone's fetishes. If you like what you like,
Don't kink shame. We do not kink shame on Dork Podcast. We do not yuck anyone's yum.
Not even a little bit. But like the worst part for me is he was just able to look at the feet, and that's what did it for him.
Take a peek.
Is there more like okay, I don't know anyone who's like really into feet. I'm not gonna but like I'm not at all. And it's just one of those things that, like you said, Scheim, I'm not trying to shame anybody. I just don't get it. Like I
don't quite understand. I don't quite understand the appeal. And at least like from what I understand, normally people who like feet like to touch them and really kind of get in there.
Tonight.
Right? They like to really get in there.
Really get in there in the stink. Yep.
Yeah, this guy he doesn't care about the little piggies. He just wants to view from afar and
get a pop. That's it.
He wants a good pedicured toe, and that's about it.
Okay. And then she just sits there, kind of looks the other way, and he just goes to work. He just abuses himself right in front of her.
Now, in times like this, what do you use to clean up? What's the cleanup situation there?
I think that guy's so dirty. I think he just
kind of like
sports.
Well, I don't even think that's it. I think that's why he wears all those robes. He can kind of hide it underneath and just kind of live in the mess.
Yeah.
To live in the mess. Just get real comfy in your own filth. Yeah.
No, it's a bad scene in there. And you got to wonder, like, is that like, because you're wondering, like, oh, like Larry, he's gonna want like a seat on the council, or he's gonna like, nope, just wants to fucking yank it to her feet.
To feet. People on Twitter need to relax. Like this, they're like, they made us okay with incest, but feet is too far. Like, relax, it's feet. Who cares? We watched the kid jerking off out a window earlier this season. Like,
it's honestly hilarious. And then all the memes of being like the high towers, there's the hand and the feet. Fucking loved it. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. And it's harmless. It's harmless fun, right?
Yeah,
no one gets hurt. It's a victimless thing. No one gets hurt there.
But I mentioned Eric and Eric. And so these two idiots, they're twins. They have the same name, but they kind of choose sides. Because what you also get in this, so the episode title is The Green Council, and it's basically like the High Towers. They were preparing all along for when Viserys dies, what they're gonna do. And so Alicent's almost kind of caught in between because she realizes that everybody that was on that council was planning for, as soon as Viserys goes, we're gonna get Aegon, we're gonna get him in there, and like he's gonna be king.
Yeah, so like that whole thing where she heard him say that to her. He thought he was talking to Rhaenyra, but she said that to her, and she really believed it, right? Mm-hmm. And then, well, no, it didn't really fucking matter what he said because we were gonna do this all along.
We were gonna do that the whole time. Yeah.
She
had like no say, no control over any of that. So Aegon is then they find him. Like they find him. There's a whole thing with Aemond, who, by the way, Aemond looks,
who is also subsequently covered in common filth.
It looks way older than Aegon, and that's what's confusing because like Aegon is the oldest son of Viserys, and you're like, that fucking guy's younger than him. Like this guy looks. Did you see the other meme? All of this is memes. It was from Bad Boys when Martin Lawrence opens the door. He's like, "You're 18, motherfucker. You at least 30."
That was so good.
That's my favorite scene from those movies. That's one of the funniest scenes of those movies.
Yeah, I mean, Bad Boys 2 is just a great movie. But so Aegon gets named in front of the people, and now this is where you get Princess. Is it Rhaenys, the Valerian?
Yep,
Valerian Targaryen. So she's basically she's still there. She's being held captive. She then is able to escape, gets on her dragon.
Thanks to one of the Erics. I think it was Eric, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the two Erics split, right? So one Eric is team Alicent, one is team Rhaenyra. Is what
they're gonna meet and have to kill each other, right?
Oh yeah.
Or maybe they kiss instead. Nah, I'll probably kill each other.
The most forbidden taboo.
Are these guys? So they're smaller versions of the Hound and the Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, I guess so. I think this is also. I'm pretty sure these are like TV specific characters because I think in the book it's technically a guy by the name of Sir Stefan Darklin, not Eric
or Eric
or Eric. So
Eric.
So yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, Princess Rhaenys is underneath, and it's funny because I think was it Aegon's wife, who's his sister.
Yep.
Didn't she say something? She's like, "Oh, there's something
The
underneath
beast
there.
beneath the floor, or something like that. Beast under the
There's a
boards, or
beast.
something
There's
like
a beast. Yeah, there's the
Mhm.
beast of burden." And so anyway, you're waiting for it. And at this point, the episode's like fine, but you're like, hasn't been anything too crazy, right? Like Laris jerking off to the feet so far has been the highlight. And then all of a sudden, the fucking dragon comes up from underneath, that kills like hundreds of innocent people. She just destroys so many
Hey,
people.
if they're not recognizing the true heir, they're not
Correct.
innocent.
They're wrong. I think they're
Traitors.
also
Treason.
they're lemmings. Really, they don't know what the fuck's
True.
going on. The sheep.
Yeah.
But then they get face to face with the dragon. I'll tell you that the way it's shot and the way they've done it, and like we
So
talked
good.
last week, Davey, about like She-Hulk and like the CGI looks all wonky.
Yeah.
The dragons in this look awesome.
And they look amazing. They look their best when there's like, so she kicks up, it comes up from underneath the floor. So there's like all this dust and rubble, and you see the dragon come out of the dust. Or it like there's that scene with Damon where it comes out of the dark.
Yes.
It's like a horror. It's like a horror movie. Like
Yeah.
the dragons, the way that they're shot, it like you're like, is that them? And then it's like watching Jaws or like Alien, or like when you're like not sure what the fuck it is, and then you see their face and like their eyes are haunting, and then when they get face to face with characters, was so good. And so
And there's one CGI scene in the next episode that remind me to bring it up before I forget. Remind me, yeah.
Right. But she has a chance to light up the whole place. She has a chance to kill Aegon, Alicent, all the high
The whole
towers.
crew.
She could burn them all to the ground. She chooses not to. She
For the
explains
best
it,
reason. Yeah.
She explains it in the next episode. But after just episode 9, were you thinking like lost opportunity, or do you at least get why she didn't?
I totally get it.
Okay.
100% makes sense. Like she is like that. Absolutely makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
And to me, like she would have been, and this is the moment where you realize too that Viserys was king for so long, but she was the right choice.
Yes.
Like she should have been the queen.
And you
like,
learn even more so that in the next episode too.
Right.
Like when you see how she handles everything else, it's
Yeah.
like you're like, oh yeah, she would have been the right choice.
And even in episode 8, which we talked about 2 weeks ago, she was really good in that one too. Like she like was like a late add to like stars of the show. Like it was really a show really about like Viserys, and then it was a show about Rhaenyra and Daemon and Alicent. And it was like, but then like boom, like she kind of joined the party there late.
But I love the fact that throughout the show, her husband, the sea snake, was like, "You should have been queen. You should have been queen."
Yeah,
and she's like, I don't really care. I don't really think about it. And then it kind of there's like something that switches where you're like, no, they're all right. Like you would have been fucking awesome.
She would have been really good. All right, what do you guys think at this point Alicent is thinking? Because she's already annoyed that the council like kind of was plotting without her. She seems to be the only one that's like, I'm not gonna kill Rhaenyra. Like everybody's like, we gotta kill the kids, and we gotta kill Rhaenyra. Any kind of shot at the throne, like she has to acknowledge you at the very least, but we should probably snuff him out anyway. But Alicent's like, this is not, even though she had a falling out with Rhaenyra, and even though her and Viserys' marriage was whatever it was, she's like, Viserys' dying wish wasn't for us to kill his daughter. So
Right.
what's going through her head right now?
So I think this is a person right now who just because remember her father says something when he initially leaves, when he's no longer hand of the king, right? He says something to her about like, you're not ready, kind of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it just dawned on her these 2 episodes, like I am not made for this. Like I am not, like almost like too good of a person to be dealing with this. I don't think she's a bad person.
She's like the anti-Cersei in that like Cersei was constantly out to gain as much power as she could. Whereas Alicent, like, yes, she wants to put her kids in power and put them in the right position, but like she isn't necessarily trying to be queen of the realm and like out for like these almost evil purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like you said, I don't think
she knows her kids are bad.
Yeah.
Or like,
but she wants the best for them, but she's not willing to do everything to make sure that happens.
She has still morals.
Right.
Hmm.
And now one of her sons is
Joshua in the chat says Allison's going to flip sides.
Well, after the last episode, I could see that happening.
Yes, let's get to the next episode. The final episode of the season, episode 10, called The Black Queen. And so this is where you get word of Viserys' death reaching Dragonstone. Because again, they were all back at Dragonstone when this happened. Daemon immediately thinks that he was murdered, which again, he wasn't. But I mean, I don't know why he would immediately think that. Like, this dude was holding on
Well,
to...
it's because he just despises the Hightowers. So any opportunity he gets to be mad at them, he takes it.
And remember, there was that scene where he asked for his tea and he smelled it and was like, "This is milk of the poppy." Like they're drugging him essentially. And so I think remember he has that whole thing where like they're keeping him weak.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, no, he is like in immense pain all the time. We have to give him this. Dude. He's a mess. But he was like planting that seed, like they were trying to get rid of him.
There is some great stuff. If you go back and watch the anytime Daemon and like Alicent are in the scene together, Daemon is just so annoyed by her. Like he can't stand her, which is pretty hilarious. Yeah. So now like Rhaenyra is queen. And so this is what you're dealing, like, this is what we dealt with in all of Game of Thrones, right? You have like King of the North, you got Robb Stark as the King of the North, you know, like, this is like the recognized king, and this is the queen. So basically, now that Viserys is dead, we have King Aegon the Conqueror, and then you have Queen Rhaenyra, and it's you got to pick sides, right? Like that's what the whole show is going to be about right now. But Daemon really kind of steps in there and just starts like planning, like immediately, like he is going to war, and this is what he's going to do. This is what he's going to do. Rhaenyra doesn't really like completely snap at him, but clearly Daemon's kind of like overstepping here a little bit, right?
But I think this is the whole kind of arc of the kind of the overarching theme of the show is that like the men and I'm not simping here as someone who's going to.
No, I know what you're saying.
No, but
you're 100% right.
Men know better.
Yeah,
and that like he knows, and to a point he's right, but he's like, this is the way this is going to go. Right. I know you're trying to do this diplomatically. I know you're trying to do this, but I've seen this shit before, and I know this is going to go this way.
But it also shows how hungry he is for war and for battle. And it goes back to that time at the Stepstones where he just absolutely murders the crab feeder. Like, it's like Daemon just, he revels in this and he wants it. He wants it so bad.
So is he the Jaime Lannister of this, or who is he most closely related to, you think?
Yeah. I would say a Jaime Lannister or like a that would be the
it's hard because like Jaime, I don't think like thirsted for war the way that Daemon does. Like Daemon thirsts for war the way Robert Baratheon did as he took the throne. Like that's what Daemon reminds me of. He reminds me of this guy who just all he wants to do is go to war. Like he's not fit to be king. He's fit to be a general and fight and conquer.
Like Euron Greyjoy.
Yeah, like those guys that it's just like I'm not built to sit on a throne. I am built to fight battles.
You know what was one of the coolest things in the world was the table that you light a fire underneath it, and it shows up, and then you're putting the pieces of like who's on your side. That was awesome. Oh, holy smokes. What technology that is.
Right.
I also love Daemon knowing every dragon in the whole place.
When he did the head count,
he has a running list of them. It's awesome.
But
when they're like, oh, we have like 6 dragons and they have 4. He's like, actually, we have 13 and they have 4.
And he names them all too. It's so great. So we get this,
and he's like, oh, and I have like 4 more eggs ready to go.
He's like, I got eggs. He's like, there's 3 like loose ones around. He's like, this one needs a rider. He's like, that one needs a rider. But he's so right. I mean, especially if you're doing war back then, it's all about the dragons. But it's the same shit we heard in Game of Thrones. Like there are some that are like, you got the dragons, let's use them. Then there are others that say, well, you realize when dragons are involved in war, like everything burns. I think that's even a line they even used in Game of Thrones. Right.
Yeah. And so because when they took King's Landing, Daenerys says something to the effect of like, or someone says something to her, like, you're just going to rule over rubble. Like you're just going to decimate the whole fucking
And
city.
Rhaenyra even says, I don't want to rule over ashes.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing is like Rhaenyra is just like, yeah, she understands we have the dragons, and like so do they. And then how about that? They're like, yeah, dragons can kill dragons though, and which is obviously setting up something for later. But at the time, you're like, dragons kill dragons. Like fuck, like there's gonna be a big dragon war. But yeah, it's all about the dragon count, and it's what 13-4 right now on the side of Rhaenyra versus Allison.
Correct. And the other thing too, I don't know that we mentioned, Rhaenyra had a bit of a stillbirth with her and Daemon's child.
Motherfucker, this is like the theme of the goddamn season. I could do with less of that, thanks.
Yeah, as soon as she hears the news of her father dying, all of a sudden her baby just decides, oh, I'm just gonna come early, and she like straight up rips it out of her.
Yep,
which was both like badass yet also terrifyingly disgusting.
And I think there was a time. I think I heard her yell like, "Get out!"
Yep.
Yes.
Awful. Yeah, that was awful. That was like the third one of this series. Like, Jesus Christ,
man. Enough. Like dead babies are like, that's like,
don't need it.
Gotta stop with that.
Now, does Rhaenyra have, that would have been her sixth kid?
Sixth kid. Because her and Daemon have 2.
Her and Daemon have 2, and then her and
3 strong kids.
Yes.
Her and Strong have 3.
Laenor have 3. Yeah.
So I love this, and this is very like Game of Thrones, dive back into whatever's going on there.
Speaking of that, you know what I thought was going to happen?
No.
Because the Valerians were having a discussion. He was laying in bed and he was talking to Rhaenys, and they were talking about how they took Laenor from us. We lost Laenor. I thought he was going to come back.
I'm waiting for him to come back because I think, it didn't need to happen because the Valerians ended up choosing the side of Rhaenyra. But I kind of, part of me did think the same thing. I'm like, is that going to be the swing where like he's like, no, I was kind of in on it, so blame me. Like,
but here's where this is where this fits perfectly because, and I'm going to jump to the big thing that happens at the end. So Lucerys and Aemon get into it. Lucerys dies. He was the one who was supposed to take Driftmark, right?
Yep.
So now Laenor can come back and take it.
Good.
Or it would just go to the youngest, technically, son of Laenor, which would be Joffrey.
Yeah, go to the other, because they have 3 boys together.
Yeah.
But if Laenor comes back,
I for a minute did think Laenor was going to come back only to sort of seal the deal and be like, you need to be on her side. But what I love about it is they're like, all right, we're looking at the map. We're trying to figure out who's, swearing allegiance to who. And it's the Starks, the Aarons, and the Baratheons. It's like 3 big houses that they all need.
Is this where they come to prominence?
I mean, I think they were all doing pretty well anyway, but like obviously not Targaryen well, but like the 3 were doing well. Like the Starks were sort of like, that's the power in the north, just fucking
always has been.
The
Aarons have always ruled the Vale, and the Baratheons have always ruled Storm's End.
Yeah, they said that there's if you get the Starks, the whole north comes with them.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And that's been like, that was right out of the chute, Game of Thrones episode 1. And so now they had all previously said like, yeah, we recognize Rhaenyra, but now there's like a mad go for it. And you knew something was up the way Rhaenyra was talking to her kid, Lucerys, being like, you are a messenger, like you are not a warrior. Like she's like, and you're going to be accepted like with open arms when you go visit the Baratheons. And you're like, motherfucker, no, you're not. And so he goes there, and the dude does have sort of Robert Baratheon vibes, doesn't he? He's just like a big hoss with a beard. He's like, I don't give a fuck. But Aemond is there. And so Aemond with his ginormous dragon is there.
Vhagar.
Oh my God, Vhagar is a hoss.
So this is what I was alluding to before, and I told you to remind me. The scene where you see, what was Lucerys's Arrax? What's his name of his?
Yeah,
Arrax. You see him riding Arrax, and then the shadow that Vhagar castle
of it just like coming up over the side of the castle wall.
Yeah,
it was like watching Godzilla.
He's so big.
But I love how like the dragons kind of mirror, like how dog owners and their dogs like mirror each other.
Yeah, like
there's this, you have this little kid. He's like nimble, like on Arrax, and then you have Aemon on Vhagar, which it's too big for him to control. Like it's super powerful, but it's like almost too big for him. There's no way he could ever do it.
But it's also like kids riding dragons, and neither one is fucking. Clearly, Aemon's not in control.
Not
Like, I
ever,
don't think
never.
either one are really fully in charge, and like you wouldn't be. It's a fucking dragon. Like it's just not.
Even
Gonna
then,
happen.
like even if you've ridden a horse, you know that like you are not in that. You are in control of that animal until it decides you are not anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's talking shit in the place, and the Baratheons kind of kick him out of there, and Aemon's like, he calls him a strong and like the whole thing, and it's like a pissing match. Are you guys surprised at all that Rhaenyra let him go there by himself? He's like a little bit of a dude.
I didn't think they were not accounting for Aemon being there.
Correct.
Had she known that Aemon would get there first, she would have not have sent him.
Like it was under the impression that the trip to Storm's End was quicker and safer than the trip to the north, which is what Jace is taking.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, we'll send Lucerys on this one. He'll be back in no time. Dragons fly faster than pigeons. We're fine. Or ravens, whatever. And then Aemon just happened to be there.
Now, so pretty crazy, obviously. And then you get the thing where, and again, the way it's shot, it's like Aemon's just trying to like fuck with him, really. But then Aemon loses complete control of his dragon, and the dragon fucking like eats the other dragon, then fucking snatches that dude. So it kills the dragon, kills the kid. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, what?
And
like,
the look on Aemon's face when that happens is like, oh shit.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just fucked up.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I just started
bad
a war.
news. But then you're like, all right, how? And then the episode continues, and like word does get back to Rhaenyra, and it's a great scene where somebody goes and talks to Rhaenyra, and then she just like turns around and is just like fucking fired up. But how would word get back as to what happened? I just feel like it'd be kind of tricky. Like they're up in the sky. Like
so, I read this, so it was like it was close enough, and maybe it says it in the book, but someone was explaining it that like Erex's head washes up on the shore.
Arax's head and like part of its body washes up on the shore at Storm's End, and the Maester finds it, and so he sends word back to Rhaenyra. But then also, I believe like one of the whole thing with this story in particular is that they're unreliable narrators. Davey knows very well from literature that there's many unreliable narrators, so you can never trust what they say. But some people think that Aemon went back to King's Landing and was like bragging about it too. Like that he did this, but also like there's other people like there's indicate that Aemon came back and told his mother and was like petrified for his life.
Interesting.
Which that makes more sense.
So one of the, again, in like what we sort of hit on before, like one of the criticisms is like not getting attached to characters and then killing them off. So I feel very differently because, and I forget which TV critic was talking about that, but I'm like, yeah, I wasn't attached to Lucerys, but that to me didn't matter. To me, it's more, what is Rhaenyra and Daemon's reaction to this news? And then what is Alicent's reaction to this news? And then what happens next because of this? Like, you're right. The character, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to see him again. Like, whatever. But it's more like with the characters that we do know and like, this is going to change how they play the game going forward.
And
so that's what I loved.
And it was such a great reveal at the very last shot of this episode where like you've seen, so Rhaenyra did it twice where she turned her back when she was crying.
Yeah.
Like she would turn her back so you wouldn't see her. And then you would kind of see her like she's like trying to fight it off. And she turns around and it's just stone faced.
Oh, it's awesome. Like
and
she's
it's just like
fucking pissed.
And
dude.
like you also recognize that like this could have gone so many different ways. So like in that episode, like Otto Hightower shows up with a bunch of men and he's like, here are King Aegon's terms. And Rhaenyra flies in on the dragon, parks it right behind them and walks through them. And so like
that's a big dick move, by the way.
In a way, but like if she had wanted to, she could have walked away, and as she's walking away, burnt them all alive and started the war herself if she wanted to. And then maybe her son would be alive. And so it's a really cool way to see like how some of the decisions made where it's like, okay, now it's like, well, if you had done what Daemon said and just killed them right there on that bridge, maybe then your son's still alive.
And I'm sure he'll point that out.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on. So yeah, there's a couple of opportunities, right? I mean, if obviously Princess Rhaenys Valerian, if she torches everybody, this doesn't happen. Now again, not her fight, not really her responsibility.
And so we didn't get back to that, but that was her explanations. Like, that's not my war to start. And it's like, what a poised thing to say. Right. And in that moment where you just like, I'm staring at these fucking people right now who were gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And I leave.
And she also takes note too of like how when Damon is like just desperately trying to prepare for war, and even Corliss does it to a degree too. As soon as he comes back, she even points out, she's like, Rhaenyra's the only one in this room that isn't like desperate to go to war.
Right.
Like she's level-headed, she's methodical, she's taking her time and trying to figure out the best way to do this.
But has that changed?
It might.
Yeah,
It might
I was gonna
change
say,
now.
I mean, this was gonna set that off. This is gonna sort of change the game. So right now, I guess Aegon is like, I guess technically the king, and now it's all gonna be about what that reaction is from the Starks and the Aarons. Or are they gonna take, which side are they gonna take? And then, because right now, if it was just a dragon war, even though they just lost one, but he's a little bit of a guy, it's still very much in favor of Rhaenyra. But she's probably more afraid to do that, like we were saying about she doesn't want to burn the whole place to the ground. But they still probably have, and that the Valerians are on their side, they probably have the advantage.
Well,
Now
they
they
talked
do.
about how
Yeah.
they can just constrict the Red Keep from the outside
And get
and
in
just like you have no trade routes via boat into the Red Keep now.
Yeah.
Just gonna starve them out.
Yeah. Fuck. What a wild ride.
Now, do you guys have are there any disappointments for you from the last couple episodes or even the season?
Nothing that like jumps out to me. Like, I thought it was pretty goddamn strong.
Like for me, like who is Laris? Like, did he come or what?
I bet he
Jesus Christ, Gil.
did. I would say he did.
Didn't even let
What
us know he
happened?
was going to
Did he come
spill
or
it.
what? Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a disappointment.
I'm disappointed. Yeah.
So because like I think the one thing for me, like, so in the books, Sir Kristen Cole plays a much bigger role in the coronation of King Aegon, and so he is literally called the King Maker of the Kingsguard, and so I expected him to play a much larger role, at least in these final 2 episodes, and yet I felt like he was almost non-existent.
I can't wait for Daemon to kill him.
Oh, it's gonna be such a good fight.
Oh, he's gonna kill him dead.
He's gonna kill his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, right now, Aegon, when season 2 starts, he will be king. I wonder if they're gonna do some more time jumps. They might even do some flashbacks because there was reports that the 2 girls that played Rhaenyra and Alicent might be back in season 2. So I'm guessing they do some flashbacks of conversations that they have, which I think would be pretty good. That makes sense. Who do you think will be the next person to reign over Westeros after Aegon?
Aegon.
There's so many Aegons.
No, honestly, I think that.
Which Aegon?
So Rhaenyra and Daemon's son.
Gotcha.
So Aegon passes it to Aegon, even though those Aegons are very much at odds.
I think the strong kids aren't gonna make it.
So you think it basically goes from the let's call it like the Greens.
Okay, no. So here's what I think happens, right? So I think Jace is not gonna make it because they're old enough to fight.
Yeah.
Right. So
especially Jace,
and Jace is gonna want to go after Aemon, and that's not gonna go well.
No.
Right. So that's gonna end poor. And so the next one you have is either Joffrey or Aegon. Right. Yeah. And I think Aegon is gonna be because of the Song of Ice and Fire and like Aegon the Conqueror and like that. They're gonna choose. It's gonna go to Rhaenyra and then Aegon.
So that whole Song of Ice and Fire thing, like they think it's about them, but they're really like 200 years early.
Right.
Yeah, and the other thing too is it was a really cool scene too when Rhaenyra mentions it to Daemon, and Daemon straight up loses it. Like he starts strangling her. And it's like you can, because you've seen Daemon love and dive into the histories of old Valyria, and when they were in Pentos he was constantly reading, yet his brother refused to share that kind of information with him. Pissed him off beyond all belief.
One of the questions we got in the chat was, where did Rhaenyra's crown come from? So one of the Erics on her side, he grabbed it and fucking brought it to her. So
and that was her father's crown and King Jaehaerys' crown before him.
Yeah.
The Conqueror's crown wasn't his.
Correct.
That was Aegon's crown that they gave to Aegon. Fucking too many Aegons, man.
Aegon all over the place. All right, any final thoughts on season 1, Scheim, or hopes and prayers for season 2?
I hope it comes out faster than 2
I
years from now, and
Yeah.
that's about it. That's all I got.
Dave?
It's fucking great. Watch it. Don't be
It's
a
real
dickhead.
good.
Pretty great. Pretty great.
Especially
All
if you're
right.
in defeat. Give it a watch.
Scheim, if you like, yeah, you're right. There's a couple of good scenes that you can pause it. You can wear out the old VCR on the old
Sure can.
Allison Tootsies. All right, Scheim, good stuff, my dude.
See you guys.
All right,
God
later.
love you. See you in 2 years.
All right, very good.
We ended on a Scheim.
Eh, eh.
Pick of the bomb. Love that.
All right, Ryan, would you like to? Oh, he says, which side? This is a question we should get to. Which side is from Brad? Which side do you guys think will win?
Rhaenyra, like Rhaenyra's side.
I think Rhaenyra's side will win too, but I think it's kind of like ongoing, and like ultimately neither will.
But ultimately, like you don't even hear the fucking name Hightower. 200 years later, that name is gone. Like I say they go scorched earth on those motherfuckers.
That's a good point. There's no, they wipe them out off the face.
I'm sure there are, but they're like piss ants. Like they don't fucking matter.
Well, what's
like
tricky?
They die, but like the police said they don't matter.
What do you mean they don't matter? No, they don't. Like it doesn't. They don't matter. But like Allison's kids all have Valerian or all have Targaryen names, though. You know what I mean? So there's like,
if they live.
Listen, we'll get it. We'll get there when we get there.
Yep.
Right, would you like to kick, receive, defer, or you may choose at this time to?
I will receive.
Okay,
I will receive. So I watched this. This isn't for everybody. I realize this isn't for everybody. This is how we're going to start. But Justin Roiland did a Halloween special on Hulu called The Poloni Show Halloween Special, which stars, you will recognize them as Chair and Itty.
Love it.
But they go by Leroy and Reggie in this one. And their sister Cyrus, who they and it's weird. It's this little they try to do a Halloween special and it's like kind of funny, but then it cuts to like these weird animated shorts. Like it's like a clip show. So it's a little bit like Rick and Morty, and it's a little bit like Liquid Television. Like remember that old Liquid Television? And I realize this isn't for everybody, but if you like kind of like weirdo animation, some of them are really good and some of them are really cool. And some of them are just like really fucking weird. So if you like that, just check it out. I dug it. So the Poloni Show.
Very good. So two other things I forgot to mention in This Week in Dork, but I'll make them as the pick of the pod is one, James Gunn also released a trailer for the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is coming to Disney Plus on November 25th. So 1 month from today, it'll be out. Looks like they kidnapped Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he talks about Footloose a lot and like, you know, but oh, I forgot. Did I mention Chainsaw Man last week?
No.
Watch Chainsaw Man. It's a new anime on Hulu. It's wonderful.
Okay.
Can I pitch it to you?
Yeah, please.
It's all devil hunting, demon hunting. And this guy's got this little pet dog who's got a chainsaw for a nose, and he can like rev the chainsaw, and it's like a little dog with a chainsaw.
I like that.
He dies, and the dog like binds itself to him. So now he can manifest 2 chainsaws as hands and 1 through his head and kills demons.
That's awesome.
Chainsaw Man on both on Hulu.
And guess what's also out today, Rye? Guillermo del Toro's Cabinets of Curiosities.
I can't wait. And it's weekly, right? It's a weekly?
I think it's maybe 4 straight nights.
Oh, love that.
There's so much going. There's so much shit. And I got to watch the finale of The Patient, the Steve Carell show.
Oh, I got to watch that too.
It's kind of gone downhill, that show, if you ask me.
It lost me a little bit.
Yeah, I want to see it through, but it's gone downhill. But there's just so much shit on all of a sudden.
But you know what? You know what got me? David Alan Grier. Surprising. I never thought I would say this, but David Alan Grier took me out of the show.
I thought he was fine.
But it was just like that whole thing with like the character, like that took me out a little bit.
There's so much on TV, right?
So much bullshit on TV.
Too much fucking shit on me. I can't breathe.
That's how much shit's on TV right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's that. So next week, it's All Hallows Eve. Spooky season. Should we do something
spooky season? I think we should be in costume.
We can be in costume. That's a no-brainer. Should we do Black Adam or should we try to do something spooky? Maybe Barbarian.
How about
All right.
me and you, instead of going to the theater to see Black Adam, we go see Terrifier 2.
I don't know if I can go to the theater.
You can find it. You can find it. Go to the theater, meaning Reddit.
How about this?
Quotations.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
In the next couple of days, let's try to watch Barbarian, and maybe we do If Barbarian's
good, we'll text.
As the kids say it is, because after Halloween ends, we need to do a really good movie.
And another one too. I'm sorry, I'm doing all these picks. The new Hellraiser, bomb.
I just started that, but then I had to stop. I gotta finish that. I have so much shit. I'm so constipated with shows and movies.
So good. Yeah.
All right. So next week we'll be back on Halloween.
We're gonna do a show next week. We can promise you that.
And you're gonna want to be there. You're a part of the show as well.
That's right.
You're an active.
There's no show without you. That's not true. I think you and I would do this regardless if no one listened.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind we would do this anyway. I do appreciate everybody listening.
We absolutely do.
I do love that part of it, but there's no doubt that if this all went away tomorrow, I would still come down here, fucking pull you up on FaceTime and talk to you for an hour.
I would love it.
All right. Right. You don't give a shit. Oh, by the way, at Dork Podcast, all everywhere. Get it in everywhere at Dork Podcast. You don't give a shit about anything, do you?
What'd you say?
I said you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
Not really.